We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Heisman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talks Stros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can they find you on Twitter?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on Twitter and at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros.
Well, the Astros are not in the World Series, but the Dodgers and the Rays are. And the Rays are basically leading right now in the fifth inning. And who did it? It's basically Randy Rosarina. And he's actually up to the plate right now, and he got another hit. This is not a homer. That's something that's kind of surprising. But this kid has hit 10 playoff homers this year. This is a new playoff record, MLB record for most homers for a single player. And this is crazy that this kid came out of nowhere. He was on the Cardinals playoff roster last year. He was basically just an extra player the Rays just kind of brought on at the end of the year. And this guy has become somebody that you fear. And that's something. And so if the Rays do go on to the World and win the World Series, we can look back and say, you know what? We didn't lose to the Rays. We lost to that Rosarina guy. And guys, don't forget, you can get Locked On Astros on the podcasting app Himalaya, as well as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And when you get in your car, tell your smart device play podcast, Locked On Astros. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. Go to BuiltBar.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON, and you'll get $10 off your first order. All right, so I know I talked a lot about Rosarina in introduction, but the big story of today is Patrick Creighton of 97.5 ESPN station. He is co-host or was or is, I'm not sure if he still is, with Jason Braddock. I used to work with Jason Braddock for a little bit. But basically, this is what he tweeted today. Bad Astros rumors. Hearing that George Springer does not want to return to the Astros. The owner had said before the season that he was going to re-sign him, and that was his top priority, but nothing ever materialized. Would be a huge loss for Houston. Top offensive bat, strong defender at premium position, best free agent bat, in my opinion. So you know that the rest of baseball is like, oh, you know what? George Springer wants to get away from all those cheaters. He wants to get he wants to get away from H-Town and all this. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you talk a little bit about this.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just talk about the obvious thing. George Springer, we do know, has a history of some negative things that have gone on with the Houston Astros. And I'm not talking about 2017. I'm talking about when he lost a year of service because they held him back when everybody thought he should have come up the year before he did his rookie season. That kind of rubbed him the wrong way. And if you look at it now in terms of 2020, that actually kept him from being a free agent last year. If he'd have been a free agent last year, he would have gotten super duper paid. He's still going to get paid. He's still going to get his money. But the Astros, and maybe that has stuck in Springer's head. I think when you talk about being a teammate, when you talk about what he's done here, what he's accomplished, how he cemented his place as baseball's premier leadoff hitter, it makes sense for him to stay in Houston no matter what they offer him. I don't think they're going to undercut any deal that's out there. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, Patrick Creighton probably has a lot more connections than I do. I'm pretty sure that's 100% accurate. But I don't know how much steam I would put behind this rumor. Eric, I also heard that Michael Brantley sold his home in Sienna Plantation or has it up for sale, but he could be moving down the street or to a different part of town. So you hear these things, and it's funny that it's coming out like during the World Series. It's funny that it's not coming from anybody that's nationally reporting on this. Not just Patrick Creighton's not a quote unquote national guy because he's on ESPN. That's a big deal. But I want the chips to fall where they may. The Astros are going to offer him something. They're going to offer him a deal. It's either if George doesn't take it, it's going to be one of two reasons. It's not enough per year or it's not long enough. And if they
can get out of Houston.
Yeah. Or you know what? And you know what? I may totally be misreading it. I don't know George Springer. I don't have ties to him. But if it has to do with him hanging on to what happened a few years ago, maybe that's something he's never forgotten. But the good thing about George Springer, I like his character. is he's never let on to that. He's never talked bad about the club. And this is what I want you to address. The other fan bases that have hated on George Springer, that have just called him out, you're a cheater and blah blah this and all, illegitimate champion. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, Springer could be one of ours. Springer could be going to the Mets. Springer could be going to the Nationals. Springer could be going to the Red Sox. And all these other fan bases are suddenly, oh, they want the guy. They love the guy. But as long as he's with us, he's a horrible, crappy person because he cheated. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, is it just at the end of the day, winning is king?
I know a lot of people are going to hate this, but if George Springer does not return to the Astros, here's the team I want him to go to: the New York Mets. I think that's a perfect fit for him. I think the Mets are a one or I think a one hitter away from being a playoff team again. And just imagine what he can do in that at the top of that order. Then Paul Alonso and everybody else can kind of just knock him in. But yeah, the Red Sox, I don't really think they're in a buying mode right now. I know that if you ask Gabby of the Locked On Red Sox podcast, she would say, "Oh yeah, I would love to have him." Yes, but I think the Red Sox are going through a little rebuilding phase, and I think they're more than one player away from making back to the playoffs. And if you look at what they did last year, they traded a lot of people away. Yes, he could replace Mookie Betts, and he's not going to get as much as Mookie Betts did. But by Mookie Betts being traded and not being a free agent this year, I think that's really going to help George Springer because he is basically the best free agent hitter available, if not the best overall free agent. And so this is something that the Astros are going to have to deal with. And we heard Jay Kaplan the other day say that, well, when's the last time the Astros have outbid anybody for a player? And so that's something that we had to do. So I think the Astros really anticipated signing him this offseason, extending him, but for some reason, because of COVID, because of the turmoil, Jeff Luno wasn't focused, and then Jim Crane couldn't get the job done. I'm not sure. Maybe George Springer doesn't want to be here next year when every road game they play, they're going to hear constant boos. Yes, he's still going to be part of that, but at least he doesn't have to hear it all the time. And that's what the Astros are going to have to deal with next year. So before we move on, something I was thinking about as I was watching the World Series game is what if the Dodgers win this World Series? Will that finally put the Astros in a rear view mirror, or do you think that they'll keep on coming at us?
Now, as far as the players, they probably will not say a whole lot about it unless they're asked about it because they will have won one. If they lose, I think they definitely will say something. The fans, dude, they'll never let it go. I
Right.
mean, they will. I mean, like I told you, either he was either on text message or on Twitter. I was like, chirping at the Astros and complaining about 17 has become oxygen or the lifeblood of Dodgers fan nation. And I mean, the Dodgers have fueled those flames because the Dodgers, players and coaches have all said things about it and like how they can't forget it, and they'll never, you know, they can't, it's hard for them to think about what would have happened had they not been cheating. But I was listening to the podcast that our guest coming on tomorrow night, Ben Ryder, said, and he interviewed Chase Utley in the Edge podcast. Y'all got to go check it out, binge it before y'all listen to our interview with him. And Utley basically said, I looked like I was in the dugout most of the time, and I looked and I listened and I watched for Astros habits and stuff 17, and I couldn't find any evidence that they were cheating during the World Series. And so I just thought that was very interesting. And just one more caveat or one more thing on Springer. And I think I know what my answer is, but do you think, Eric, in a real short answer, do you think that if Springer doesn't sign, that this is somehow people look at Click and say he didn't get the job done? Or do you think because Springer's been here long before Click got here that he won't even, he's kind of an outside guy looking in? You know what I'm saying?
Chase Bellinger was just Cody. I don't know why we say Chase.
You said
Cody,
Chase Bellinger.
yeah, I don't know if I know Chase Bellinger, but Cody Bellinger was, I guess, some type of bug was going at his face, so he just started swinging the bat at the bug or something else funny. But yeah, going back to your question, I think that if George Springer goes elsewhere, I think it's going to look bad on Jim Crane because Jim Crane basically came out and said this is our number one goal. We're going to get this done, and he was not able to get it done. Yes, there was a whole work stoppage and everything was shut down for a while, but he should have reached out at least to extend him for a few more years. And you would think George Springer at that time would be like, you know what, I want to go ahead and do another year. But I think nobody really stays. Nobody's like Craig Biggio. Nobody's like Jeff Bagwell, where they stay their entire career with another team. Sometimes you just want to kind of go play somewhere else. And I know Peter Gammons thinks that the Red Sox could go get Springer, but there's a whole bunch of teams in the NL East that could use Springer, and including the Mets, the Marlins. Marlins had playoff success. Just imagine adding him to the top of their order. And but the thing that's kind of worrisome to me is this is what he said after the Astros lost Game 7 in the ALCS. He said, I mean, when they asked, was he hoping to return? It's a time where I'm not really focused on the future. I'm focused on the present. And I know we kind of talked about that then, but now looking back at it, it's that's kind of a little bit more of Garrett Cole wearing the Scott Boras hat kind of thing. And it's like, okay, was that him saying that I'm not really that into you, but I don't want to tell you right now. I'm going to wait to do it via text message later, that type of thing.
Or he'll
So
be like, I know we've been dating for a while, but I prayed last night and God told me we need to break up.
yeah, something like that. So speaking of breakup, I don't get don't lose a relationship because maybe you're a little bit I guess not eating the right stuff, and then maybe you are kind of you need a healthy snack. Let me just say that. So how about a Built Bar? Go ahead and tell us a little bit about Built Bars.
Built bars, yes, they have been mending relationships since 1999. No, Built Bar is the best protein bar on the market. Why? Because you like literally think you're eating a candy bar, and I'm not even lying. Like I was having my mid morning snack, and one of my students was like, "What is that?" I said, "This is a Built Bar," and I said, "If you go to builtbar.com and use the locked on code, you'll get 20% off your first order." He said, "Is that good?" I said, "It's delicious." And I told him, look, I was like, look at this. And I let him read the stats on the back: 19 grams of protein, only like 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs. I had the strawberry, the special edition one. It
Video or
is
it didn't
phenomenal.
happen.
Say again.
Video or it didn't happen.
Well, I'm not allowed to. We can't record students without the
I
parents'
know.
permission. So, anyway, so it was kind of cool. Like the kids were like, "That looks really good." I'm like, "It actually is very good." And so, Built Bar is the perfect snack for the healthy conscious guy or girl. If you're on the keto diet, if you just want something before a workout, during a workout, or post workout, go get it. Right now, you'll get a free cooler with your purchase while supplies last. Okay. Go to builtbar.com and use a promo code locked on. You'll get 20% off your next order. Use a promo code locked on for 20% off at builtbar.com.
I probably should have done one of those Built Bar shakes, the shots, like energy shots, before this show, just because I'm really tired, guys. But yeah, we wanted to kind of talk about the Springer report because it's something that's kind of big deal. This is a player that we've rooted for, and I saw a picture today of when the Astros drafted him. They're in the brick red uniforms. That's how long this guy has been part of the Astros organization. Okay, Brett's wearing his brick red jersey and a black hat for the
And a
Astros.
black hat. Maybe it's subliminal foreshadowing.
Yeah,
Is
something
that
like
a
that.
thing?
Sure. But something that is kind of worrisome is remember the Astros were one of the teams this season that did not furlough or lay off any um, employers. Well, that's
Yes, I
kind of
did.
changed today. Jay Kaplan, I think it was around 2 or 3 o'clock today, tweeted out that he sources say that the Astros about to furlough some people, and they did. and most of it has to deal with baseball operations and minor league affiliates, business ops, that type of thing. There were more furloughs than layoffs, according to Chandler Rome. But a lot of it has to deal with the Corpus Christi Hooks. Maybe they took some of the upper management away from there, or maybe some scouts or something. But they're hoping that once the market kind of bounces back in terms of maybe next year they start playing baseball again, because who knows if they're even going to have a minor league next year. They may
Yeah,
still have
here's
this whole thing.
Yeah, here's the thing, and this is as much on the office of the commissioner as it is anybody else, because with the MLB expected to lose over $3 billion because of the pandemic, and with the Astros and other clubs laying people off, Eric, it is going to be imperative that Rob Manfred get people in those stadiums, whether it's 11,000, whether it's 50% capacity, whether it's 30% capacity. They've got to do something, because if they don't get the gate revenues in, if they don't get the food sales, the concessions, the gift shop, all that stuff that we kind of take for granted. And we always cry about, oh, billionaires, how can they be hurting for money? Well, basically, if the well is the billionaire's pocket and the well runs dry, then people suffer and they lose their jobs. So we've got to figure out, hoping and keeping our fingers crossed, that this thing has a major downturn come by January, February, we get this flu season successfully. But that is Rob Manfred's number one concern. It's not robo umpires. It's not the universal DH. It's not expanded playoffs. All those things don't matter if you don't have butts in the seat. I don't care if you have 16 teams or all 30. I mean, I don't care if you have everybody in the playoffs. If nobody is there, they're not making money. And you know what? We might be seeing the end of the era of the big sports TV deals too. So there's a lot of deep seated implications. And I'm really hoping and praying that the owners and Rob Manfred can figure out how to get people to games safely. Because I don't know about you, but I miss the heck out of baseball. And I'm jealous of the people that are at the World Series. I'm not a fan of either team, but I would love to be there right now.
Yeah, but you'll be in Arlington, their new stadium, the Grill or the Home Depot Stadium, whatever it's called.
Tough
So
Shed Stadium. I'll
yeah.
be there. Hey, you know what? We need to make a Locked On road trip up there. That would be cool.
Yeah, definitely next year. But the reason why I bring that up is that does not look good towards the Astros bringing back George Springer. They're definitely going to offer him a qualifying offer, because he's obviously going to reject it, because he can. The qualifying offer is 18.9. He can easily get 22 at least AAV. So Michael Brantley, that's the question. I know we talked about the other day with Jay Kaplan, but that's kind of the question. I know it was actually with Clay Hensley, the one when you
It
talked
was,
to
yeah.
him. Yeah. So I know some people said, yeah, you do that, but then other people are saying, no, you don't do that, because he may accept it, because he's not going to get that on the open market. He's going to be a 34-year-old outfielder, but he still hits over 300. Some people are worried about his knees. We are his not his knees. That's Yordan Alvarez. And by the way, Alvarez was on a treadmill, and
Yes.
this was a big thing. And a lot of people were like, "Well, can you put that to a soundtrack or something?" Because it's good to see him out there running, because the Astros could be losing all three outfielders, all free agent outfielders. And, Kyle Tucker is going to be there, but could Alvarez go to the outfield? That's something we're going to probably be discussing over this offseason. But I don't see a lot of people making a lot of moves. And I don't mean just the Astros. I mean a lot of teams. If you remember a few years ago when Dallas Keuchel signed, or I think he ended up signing with the Braves at that time. And
Right.
but he waited like until 2 months in or something.
Like June or July. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're going to see a very, very slow free agent market. You're going to see the big boys go after George Springer and maybe Marcel Osuna. But all the little guys, they're going to be like, you know what? We're going to wait on you a little bit. We're going to see if your price goes down, because owners don't have a lot of money to spread. Yes, they do have the balance in their budget to do it, but we already talked about all the money they lost this year. What's going to happen in 2021? Nobody really knows what's going to happen. So who knows what's going to be there. So I don't think you're going to see a lot of people go out there and sign the Josh Reddick's quite yet, unless Josh Reddick accepts a like $1 million deal or something.
1 million. You just
One
said 1 million.
million.
Why have billions when you got
One.
millions, right?
Yeah.
So, a little shout out to Bill Astros, to at Bill Astros on Twitter. He had reposted, I guess, the running, and I think Michael Schwab apparently. I think he was the first one to post it, and he said, "Oh look, Yordan Alvarez looks in perfect shape. He's practicing his home run trot." I mean, when you look at him on the treadmill, he looks great. But let's talk about this. This is interesting. I don't know about him. I don't know if a lot of Astros fans are talking about. I haven't really seen any quote unquote scuttlebutt, but Forrest Whitley and Freitas Nova are both Rule 5 eligible this winter. Whitley, we know who he is. Nova, he's a 20-year-old Dominican. He is one of the top prospects in our organization. He is the Astro. He ranks in MLB pipeline as our second ranked organization. Baseball America puts him at number 4. So Nova and Whitley are virtual locks to be on the 40-man roster. And that's huge. I mean, here's the thing, Eric. We can talk about doom and gloom and about Springer leaving, about Brantley leaving. Brantley's a little bit easier pill to swallow because he's older. He gave us 2 solid years. If you do keep Springer, I think Brantley stays. I think you get both. I don't think it's going to be like if Brantley stays and Springer will. I think if Springer signs, Brantley is likely to sign. And Brantley might wait to sign somewhere to see if Springer stays in Houston. So let's watch for that. And also this next year, I mean, think about it. We've still got a solid lineup, dude. Alvarez, Correa, healthy. Bregman, Altuve, hopefully getting over whatever he got over this next season. You've got Yuli Gurriel back. He's going to be refreshed. He's going to be rested. I mean, the list goes on. Offensively, I think this club, Eric, is going to be fine. Say again?
You forgot Kyle Tucker.
Oh, well, well, we just got to talk about Kyle Tucker.
Yeah,
yes.
I know.
Yes, Alvarez, Tucker. Yes, all these guys that we still have.
Yeah.
And you have some serviceable guys that can come in and step in and play key roles. I mean, I know Diaz isn't everybody's favorite. I know he's not like a rock star, but you've got Diaz. I mean, you've got Miles Straw can do different things. And I think Miles Straw, the more experience he gets, I think the better his glove will get in the field. His speed is definitely a plus. His bat definitely needs to pick up. You got Abraham Toro. You got all these different guys. You got Nick Tanalou. I mean, you've got people in the wings. While we may not be the top minor league system, we're not in the poor side of things. I think we're good. And a key to that is, like you said, what will the minor leagues do? Will they have a season? Will they shorten the season? Will there be fewer clubs? I mean, we know that minor league system cut is coming. I just don't know when.
All right, here's the Homer aid, a drink by Brett Chansey. The farm system is down.
Okay.
Wait till you see the rankings.
Let me rephrase that. No,
this is just go ahead.
That's okay. Let me rephrase that. What I mean is the Astros situation right now with the people they have at the, I think, closest levels to be promoted, I think they're fine. Okay. So yeah, their minor league system is shot right now, but I think they've got enough upper level guys in the minors that can make that 40-man roster, or that can be right below at AAA. How's that sound? Because I realize the error of my ways. What? I didn't redeem myself?
No, not really, but we'll talk about that later. And we're going to have a whole show probably next week before the deadline to protect the Rule 5 players. We may even try to get Astros Future on to kind of talk about that, or
definitely
maybe Dane Hansen would be another good one. But we're probably going to do some shows about like free agent outfielders, like Jackie Bradley Jr. I think he deserves a whole show to kind of talk about what this guy could bring.
A whole show for Jackie Bradley Jr.?
Yeah, let's put some good juju out there or something.
Okay.
Just so we can have an outfielder that's not Oh, I thought that Rosarina hit another homer. I'm like, really? No, he wasn't. It was just a replay. But yeah, so I know we're gonna have to talk about a lot of this stuff more. But one thing that I'm eagerly looking forward to is what happens after whoever wins the World Series. AJ Hinch, Alex Cora will be able to be to sign again. I guess they'd be unsuspended. I know we'll talk about this with Ben Ryder tomorrow, but it's amazing. I read an article in the Athletic today, and they had players that they interviewed, and they're livid. They're like, "No, you cannot have these guys come back in baseball so soon. Have them in the front office. Don't have them being the face of the team right now. We're not over it yet." And so maybe that 1 year suspension was not enough. Well, we'll have to see. We'll talk to Ben Ryder about that because I remember he was actually not there during the 2017 season, but he was there kind of witnessing the rise of the Astros juggernaut. And so we'll get his opinion about all that type stuff. But guys, that's all we got for tonight's Locked On Astros podcast. George Springer does not want to sign with the return to the Astros. We'll have to see. I don't think we can take too much into what Patrick Creighton has to say, but we'll definitely talk about this with Ben Ryder tomorrow, and we'll probably be talking about George Springer all off season until he signs with another team. So, guys, don't forget to go check out our friend Sully over at the Locked On MLB podcast, and Gabby. We threw out a shout out earlier. Go listen to her with the Locked On Red Sox podcast. I'm sure she'll be talking about George Springer all off season. And we'll be back tomorrow with Ben Ryder.
Yeah, I realized what I said after I said it. I was like, wait.